Hello, you amazing friends. I'm here with a cup of coffee and the extremely powerful and extremely dangerous Mark Zimmermann. How are you, Mark Zimmermann?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks, Ed. It's dangerous is a word. I hope it's used in the right context. Yes, dangerously good for you, I like to say. Thanks for having me.
Oh, look, it's an honor having you with us. I know you're a busy man and you are a global star in transformation. And I just want to say it's been a crazy few years that we've had. What have you learned over the past two craziest years of our lives, undoubtedly?
Well, Ed, first of all, I don't think there's many people that were founding businesses or purchasing businesses just before the global pandemic hit. So I'm one of those people who acquired a mid-sized business just before the pandemic hit, and I think I founded On the Mark Coaching about a year or so before the pandemic hit. So yeah, interesting. I think I'm qualified to answer that question from my perspective and through my
Totally.
lens. I'm sure everyone's got their own story to tell, but in many ways, I think it's been the best time to start a business because it was almost like an unexpected reset for everybody. So,
Mm.
in many ways, the playing field was reset for us without anyone's choice or say in the matter. And you can either look at that as an opportunity or you can look at that as an obstacle. And I think in this world, Ed, where we are kind of either glass half full or half empty, my team and I, we chose to look at this as an opportunity and we've run with it. And I have to say, of the four businesses that we're across that we run and we own, um, each of them have their own unique push pull factors. One of them is a global business with a global footprint. And I'm pleased to say that the pandemic, whilst as terrible as it is, and as devastating it can be for economies and the downside of it, it's actually been refreshing for us and it's opened up opportunities where normally we wouldn't have had them.
It's funny you say that because talking for myself and Lassie as well, and again, full respect to all those affected by the pandemic, respect and love. It turned us global because I remember, we're from Sydney, of course, for the sake of
Yeah.
our fans around the world. On a local Sydney level, we were doing great. And it was the pandemic and going into LinkedIn that turned us from local leaders into, massive international leaders. So I couldn't agree with you more, Mark. It's fascinating how I like what you said as well about the glass half full and half empty. I hate to say it, but speaking to the truth, I think most people have taken, except for our viewers, of course, our viewers don't do this, but I think most people have taken a half empty viewpoint. What do you think of that?
Quite possibly, but one of the beautiful things about being in the coaching industry and the business we're in, we're a team of 13 or 14 coaches now
Mm.
spread out across Africa and Australia. And the coaches all, we stay very close to each other and we talk about what's going on out there. And the most interesting insight we've taken away from this process over the last 18 months is that people that are inherently glass half empty, it's quite easy to help people apply a perspective if you take them down a narrative path of I guess, coaching or storytelling, as I like to refer to it. And I'll give you an example, Ed. Imagine a world where you think you're having a really bad day or a really bad time. You might be a single mum or single dad having to homeschool multiple children. And that person might be on a call with me and they might be saying to myself or one of my team how terrible life is, that they have to do the homeschooling and that they have to be confined to within their home, right? And often we have to empathize with that, and we should empathize with that because those are very real, raw feelings. You
Mhm.
cannot deny somebody those feelings. But when you say to somebody, wow, aren't you lucky to own your home? And they go, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess. And aren't you lucky that you've got children?
Yeah.
You can get to homeschool. Yes. And so the perspective changes, and you can actually see that glass going from half empty, it starts to fill up a little bit. And by the end of a couple of sessions with people, when we apply a different perspective, they're just happy to have a glass, let alone half full or half empty.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that for me is the upside and reward in applying perspective to all of this.
Yeah. I love the children example because, I know so many women actually. Again, the majority of our clients are women and we love women. We stand for empowerment on every levels. And one of the things that the tragedy that we're dealing with is women who, didn't have children until it was too late, and now they're dealing with that fallout. And I've been basically a few times a week, I'm dealing with amazing women who wish they had kids, but they didn't, and they ran out of time due to biological reasons. And I love your reframe there as like, would you rather be stuck at home homeschooling with children or have no children? I guarantee you, those legendary women who are in this tragic position, they would love to be at home with their own kids.
Absolutely.
Homeschooling right now.
That is so true. And for so many people, Ed, there was a period where the lines were very blurry. Your workspace was also your home space, which was also your schooling space. And for so many people who live in a confined space, that became quite difficult to get your head around. So a lot of our sessions were around creating that perspective, making sure that physical distancing doesn't mean the same as social distancing, right? You can be physically distanced, but you can still be connected emotionally and socially.
Incredible. And just a few of our viewers, I just want to say, if you just tuned in, we're streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter Periscope. And if you are watching the recording, big thank you. We've got Sam from YouTube giving us lots of love. And Kenneth Dunner Jr. from Facebook has said, Edward, savor the flavor of your awesomeness and you, sir, for sharing your delectable thoughts of goodness with us. So there we go. It's we've got a few fans up there. So
interesting.
Make sure you like, share, and comment. So I think it's amazing. I love your reframe of it. Now, I was just going to ask you as well, right? We've had crazy things happen in the world. We know that. We're starting to see some of these trends come to the surface. What is your vision as to how things are going to play out in the future? What are your views of upcoming trends and changes and things that we need to be aware of?
Great question. I get asked that a lot, and especially on workshops when there's group environments. Often we get asked, like, the world keeps changing, it keeps changing, what's next? Well, actually, if you take a step back for a moment, the world's been changing since mankind was even, set foot on the planet, right? So we've been in this evolution, since day dot. I guess the question is the uncertainty around when will things go back to normal. Well, actually, once Pandora's box been opened, there is no going back to how things were. And that might not be a bad thing. The way in which we are now communicating is different. So we are engaging with each other. We're reconnecting with people that we haven't connected with for a long time. So friendships and relationships are being rebirthed. Another thing that we need to understand is that as technology is really hard to keep up with, technology is not the enemy. Technology can be our friend. Because, for example, if you are forced to stay at home, or if you're in lockdown, embracing technology, whether it be for entertainment, whether it be to communicate, whether it be to just buy your groceries online, we need to embrace technology. And Edward, that also means helping people to embrace technology, because not everybody is tech savvy, right? And I certainly am not. So putting your hand up and saying, hey, I need some help here, is a really important part of understanding how to improve your lifestyle through embracing technology.
And on a funny note of embracing technology, I think I might have taken this too far. So as you know, I am a gamer. I love playing video games. And right now I'm playing the Fallout video game series. You know how I do those photo galleries where I walk around the streets?
Yes.
I've now taken it too far. I'm now in the game of Fallout taking photos and selfies in it. So I'm now I'm now in a virtual world doing the same thing I would do in the real world. And the photos go really well on LinkedIn.
That's incredible. I love that fact, actually, because that escapism is so important. And often we refer to, we get new clients every week, and we say to the new clients, what do you do for guilt-free me time? And they go, oh, what do you mean? Like, it's crazy in the house when we wake up in the morning, trying to get the kids ready for homeschooling. We're trying to get ready for Zoom calls. I go, but that's not the question. The question is, what do you do for guilt-free me time? Because without that, you are bound to burn out at some point. And our mobile phones is the best example. When we've got a mobile phone open with all the apps running, making our lives efficient, when the battery runs out, what do? We are forced to plug it in and leave it. And we leave it to recharge, because as effective as our mobile devices are, they also have to have an off switch, right? Yeah. So human beings are the same. Guilt-free me time means I'm going to go into recharge mode. It means I'm not going to be doing anything. and it means I'm not going to feel guilty about it. And it means that by recharging my batteries, I can be the best version of myself and the best version I can be for my family and my work colleagues and and everyone in my life who's important to me. Right.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and just being honest with the audience, a lot of our fans know this, and I absolutely love them for it. I'm getting much better now, but I've had huge problems with feeling guilty when it comes to self care. So basically, I was just a burnt out guy going from week to week, and probably about 3 or 4 months ago, not talking that long ago, I started going down the self care path, like actually pushing back and saying, no, I actually want to do this. I want to live my own life. And I tell you what, Mark, when you start responsibly, and I say responsibly, when you start responsibly going down the self care path, your performance goes through the roof because the stuff I'm doing today, I could not have done without an enhanced self care routine.
100% true. So that links in directly to being kind to yourself, because so often we think to ourselves, oh, well, to feel better, I'm just going to binge on ice cream, I'm going to binge on Netflix, and I'm going to be kind to yourself means getting the balance right as well. And this is something that often people, including myself, we have to learn the hard way in life all too often. And we need to accept it. The things that are in our control that we can influence are the things that we should be focusing on, because there's always going to be things completely outside of our control that we simply cannot change the course or the trajectory of that. And if we focus too much of our time in that space, it's unproductive, because you physically can't change the course of the outcome. So focus on what you can influence, be very clear on focusing what you can control, and then arrive at those outcomes in the best possible way you can.
Yeah. And just adding to that, and I couldn't agree with you more. The thing that I've found personally as well is that probably about 4 months ago, I started going more down the self care path, which I've never done in my life, really. Right? I've never ever done that. And what's interesting today is I'm happier, but I produce more. I actually get more done, and I do self care. And I realize your efficiency goes through the roof. And I suppose you don't know it till you've done it, but self-care, you end up getting more done. You end up becoming more successful. And in hindsight, I'm like, I wish I pushed back years ago and gone more into the self-care routine.
Well, and so many more people are. We hear this word wellness. I think it's Are You Okay Week this week. So the self-care links in and ties into so much, because ultimately, Ed, as whether you're a family person, whether you're alone, whether you are striving to be a great leader, leadership actually begins within. So we all have to be leaders in some way, shape, or another. And to be the best leader you can be, you need to start to be kind to yourself and work on yourself and be mindful of what that means. And we are exposed to so much in this space. So it's very easy for us to kind of get overwhelmed with everything that's going on in that space. So just be selective of what you choose and find something that's comfortable for you, and then tap into that as often as you need to. Like, go after that resource, go after that. It becomes fodder for the soul, as we call it. Right. And my team and I are extremely passionate. You mentioned, strong females in our lives. I am so blessed to have an exceptionally strong CRO running on the Mark Coaching, Dr. Carol McGowan. She's outstanding. She's
friends of her on LinkedIn.
She's a master coach, but without a strong Carol there to help guide our growth in our business, we would be lacking in areas where our customers and clients wouldn't get the true benefit of all of our combined skills. Having someone like Milena in heading up the Africa team, for example, is outstanding, because again, we've got that strong female presence in our leadership teams. If we look across our other businesses that we run, which are not in the coaching space, again, we've got strong female leadership in those roles. So we absolutely are huge advocates and in supporting that gender equality, every form of equality and non-discrimination you can imagine will become a vital part of how we emerge out of this chapter of COVID into the new world, as we call it, right? And I'm excited about that. I must say that's exciting.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And I know our fans agree with it, and you were on total this one. I love how a lot of the extreme whack jobs who are all about division, people are tuning out of people who are driving division. I don't know if you've seen this trend, but a few years ago, people who were divisive would really attract big followers. But these days, people are tuning out of that. I find people are now waking up to people who are being divisive and really following people that are more inclusive on both sides of the political spectrum.
That is so true. That point is so, so true. Divisions that we can see now are more intensified. The line is either it's divisive or it unites. And there's very little middle ground on that one. Whether we're talking about vaccines, wearing masks, lockdowns, we need to all appreciate that we are all in this together. And the people who are leading us through this, it's their first time through leading through this. And we've voted these people into power. So we need to support what the majority are saying. And it's so true. Divisiveness is okay if it's done respectfully, because we're all entitled to our opinions, and it's okay if we agree to disagree.
Yeah, and I think it's incredible. And that's one thing that I've seen happen, and it's interesting actually. And as you know, and I'm going to express some of my biases now. I am pro LinkedIn, and I'm not a fan of Facebook, right? Now, I love the people I'm connected to on Facebook, but Facebook as a company or a platform, I don't have a lot of respect for them, right? And interestingly, a lot of feedback I'm getting these days is I'm getting at least a client a day coming to me and saying, Ed, I'm thinking about deleting my Facebook account, right? And I don't have to ask them, but I ask the question, why is that? And I go, it's just too much hate. It's just a platform of hate, people hating on each other. I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's just full of normal people. And I want to ask you, I don't mean this from a social media point of view. I'm more asking from a mindset point of view, but why is Facebook, you think, becoming so divisive, and why is LinkedIn becoming so inclusive?
Well, I think it's where you look where both of them had their origins. Facebook was a way of connecting people socially through non-professional means, right? So connecting families, you share photographs, you connect, you say happy birthday, and you look what I had for lunch, and look where I'm on holiday, and all of that connect. It was designed to connect all of us as much as possible. LinkedIn, on the other hand, initially LinkedIn started out as a place where you go and you say, I'd like to look for a job. You put your CV out there. You say, look at me. You fan the peacock feathers. You say, look at me. I've got all this experience. Why don't you come and snap me up before someone else does? And so both platforms have evolved. I think if you were to talk to Mark Zuckerberg now and ask him what he thinks of Facebook today compared to when he founded it, I think he himself would say it's taken on a life of its own. And with that comes pros and cons, Ed. So for me, I'm very closely aligned with LinkedIn. In fact, I would say 80% of On the Mark's business comes through the LinkedIn platform. We are going to be investing some of our resources into Facebook at some point. We're in discussions now with a marketing agency. And I think that, to be in it, you kind of have to experiment for what's right for your business, okay, or what's right for you personally. And that doesn't mean to say that it's one size fits all, because don't forget, there's your world that you live in, there's my world that I live in, and then there's the one world where we all live in, okay, our world. So the three will cross over in certain areas, but not necessarily in all areas, okay. And that's my take on these big tech companies, right?
I love your backstory. I just want to say as well, Mark, we've been on for almost 20 minutes. Big thank you to our fans and viewers, and thank you for those watching the recording. I just want to ask you, how can people get in touch with you and your coaches? So let's say someone's watching and they want to be coached by you and your team. What's the best way for them to start that journey?
That's absolutely a great question. So On the Mark Coaching, being an international business, we're just redoing our website at the moment to reflect that so that we can launch the Africa team, particularly. They're an exceptionally strong team, all ICF accredited, and very, very strong in their own right. So website's going through a revamp at the moment. We're looking at the end of September for the new website to get launched, but it's still a functional website. So anyone can go on to otmcoaching.com.au. You can click on the contact us page, or you can email me on mark@otmcoaching.com.au. And, either one of those two paths will take you straight through to us. At the moment, some of us are capacity because we can't take on any more coaching work or coaching clients at this moment. But some of the new team members that have joined us, as I said, are really raring to go. And wow, we are fortunate to have such a strong team with us.
Oh, exactly. And I know some of them as well. You're a master at, I suppose, picking up the elites. I just want to say as well, Mark Zimmermann, what are some of your closing thoughts? Can you drop a few red pills on our fans across the world to keep them winning into the future?
Yeah, I'd say, a lot of people know me for the word mojo, right? Because mojo is the energy that burns inside all of us.
Mojo mechanic, is that right? Mojo mechanic?
Mojo mechanic. And I've had to be careful not to step on anyone else's toes because there's a lot of mojo masters out there. But really, when we started Mojo Masters Series 1 in 2020, it was a sellout event, and it was all to do with the energy that we sometimes lack. We don't know where to find it. We don't know how to unleash it, but we know it's inside. So my parting thoughts to everyone are, follow me on LinkedIn. There's going to be a wealth of resource coming out around how to unlock your own natural reserves of mojo. There'll be simple tips that will help you get through tricky times that lie ahead. It's helping you to maintain perspective, to actually acknowledge that if you're not having a bad day, pause for a moment and acknowledge that that's a win. Okay, that is an absolute win. So it's the guilt-free me time. Start well, even if that means get up early. I'm discovering I can't remember the Dutch guy's name now. Anyway, there's an amazing guy who talks about cold water swimming, being in the depths of cold water. And so, just your body going through all these different phases of creating energy for itself. Again, we talked about controlling focusing on what you can control and what you can influence. Always offer to help people. So, it's funny, Ed, everyone goes, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. And then the next thing that goes, I just need to go and check my emails. Well, hang on a second. You've got time to check your emails, but you just said you don't have time to help someone for 5 minutes. So it's a conscious, mindful thought. And the last thing I'd say on that one, Edward, is think of your legacy. When we're long gone, how will we be remembered? Right? And what is the footprint we will leave on the world that we live in? Because that to me is just as important about leaving a lasting legacy than what our actions are today.
Oh, legendary. Mark, so honored to have you with us. Thank you again. I know you're a busy man. I just want to say we appreciate you, and thank you for stopping by our StreamYard Live.
And I'll just say, Ed, just before you say goodbye, the work that you and Lassie are doing is truly inspiring. I think the fact that, you've got well over 100,000 followers there. I think Lassie's not too far behind you on that one. She's hot on the heels. I think the work that you're doing is truly inspiring. Please keep it up. You've got a huge global following yourself, and it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to come on the show with you today. So thank you.
Mark, I don't know what to say other than you're awesome, but thank you, Mark. We appreciate you.
Have a great day. Thank you.